Another late one today, making dinner in the background as I record this. Today was my first proper day of the job that I applied to. And do you know what? It was it was good. It was good. I liked it. As I was doing it, I sort of entered this flow state, kind of this trance state. My mind was only on the job, and excuse me, no other thoughts came into my mind as I was taking care of it. It was just like looking around, observing. Okay, do this, do that, do this, do that, and I was worried at the start about the training, but I gave myself some aids to help me figure out the layout of the place and other duties and figuring out timings and things like that, and other aspects of taking care of it. And you know what? I'd say it really worked out. I'm worried that I might forget things by the time I go back there again in about a week. It's about 3 days of job, and then free the rest of the week till a week later. And I just want to make sure I keep all the things that I learned today. And I asked lots of questions while it was sort of like on the job training, watching the other person who has experience and figuring it out as I go. But definitely more worries today than before. A lot more pressure from the other person to rush into a second job. So much so, and to sort of like get me out of them giving me a ride to the place. I mean, even more than yesterday, that kind of thing. But the person's got no obligation to drive me there. But they're doing it right now, but making it very clear that, it's a bit of a burden, that it's a burden, and they want to sort of jettison me as soon as possible. Just sort of like started handing me lists of other jobs that are walking distance from the one that I just worked at. So I finish that shift and then I just walk somewhere else to do another shift. One thing in particular about me is that in a previous place where I worked, I got a pretty serious back injury that flares up super duper easy. So after this work day, my body it's made me more feeble than I wish I was. And the constant walking back and forth and moving things, and just like no sit down time, 30-minute break, and then by the time I'm done, my body is just out of it, sore. The particular spot where I got the injury, it causes me to start limping, and it puts a lot of pressure on my lungs to where I have a hard time breathing. It's and I got it at such an early age too. That's what stinks about it. It's like, why could, if I was gonna get it, I'd rather a scenario where I didn't. But if I was gonna get it, maybe if I was older. But now it's just like there. And if I try to power through it, it just becomes searing and suffocating, literally suffocating. So I have to. What's the word? Not really manage, but like when it starts coming, I have to start slowing down and pacing myself, or it'll absolutely destroy my ability to function later. So I'm thinking about that whole thing, like walking, then to another constant back and forth standing job for like another 5 hours kind of thing. Well, first off, my main issue with it is logistically, my main issue is that no, I shouldn't rush into that right now. In fact, it won't be a problem if I can study, get my license, and get a car, But the problem is doing that is going to take up the rest of the days I have during the week to prepare for that. So it's like two contradictory motives at the moment. And I do have the opportunity to finish up studying for that, get my license, maybe find a cheap car around here, and be able to drive. Instead of losing all that time at the moment. If I could, I wish I could get a remote job for my second job, so that I could work the first days of the week here and make money. But I've sent so many remote job applications, and none of them have panned out at all. Not a single one. I've sent so many applications of both types, but just referring to remote ones, remote work, graphic design, editing, writing, creating assets, things like that, none of them have. And I tried Twine, and Twine is just... I haven't seen a single success with Twine. Either you'll get nothing back, or... yeah, nothing back. Mostly what I've experienced is just nothing. The person never contacts back. And they show you when the person was online last, and they'll post it, and it's been like 4 months since the person was on, and it's from my experience, it's been useless. I haven't gotten a single good thing from using Twine, so I just unsubscribed and left that behind. But yeah, if I could find remote, that would be great. Because the thing about working in this type of job that I got now is that I need a pretty substantial recovery period after I'm done in order to keep my back injury from tearing up and just like leaving me in bed, if that makes sense. It's why I can't do like factory work or warehouse stuff anymore, because it will just destroy me completely and utterly. So, but the other person is trying to rush me into a second job, mainly just to offload me. I do know that much. And I'm holding my thing of just like needing to pace myself, studying, getting this car, if I get a car, that would be substantially helpful if I were to get, a second job in that kind of work. I, I do have to strongly consider my health and my ability to function at home and take care of it, as well as, functioning elsewhere. But, one thing I am grateful for, even if it's slightly backhanded, slightly from a self-serving place, I am grateful for, and it's the first time I've ever seen it, is the other person sent me the full finances for everything, like how much rent costs, how much the food costs, groceries, cat stuff, vet, internet, cell phone, transportation, the total of everything added up. And the person's, I guess that's one of my anxieties right now, is the person's really, and their message is, like, I won't be able to do a bunch of things for myself until you make enough money to cover the entire place. And I'm just like, I don't want to assign motivations to you, or I don't want to think the worst of any person. But when you're around someone long enough and you see the habit and the usual reasons that they do something, it's difficult not to get the intuition of why they're doing something. I know it's presumptuous of me to say intuition versus just reading into it, but a lot of it is just intuition. When a person is doing it this fast, this quickly, within seconds, you can tell they've just been sitting on it for a really long time. It kind of reminds me of, and I know not everyone would get this, but it's like when the DLC for Pokemon Legends ZA Mega Dimensions was announced in a direct before the game even came out, or DK Bonanza within like weeks of the game coming out, and that there's no way that could have been made that quickly, and you just know that was being made while the main game was was being made, and that their intent behind it, that it was cut out, that it was cut out of the main thing to sell back to you later, and you just know, the timing and the pressure of it all, and the usual practices and behaviors, and the way it's all lining up. It's like, that's okay. But the person decided to just leave and abandon us here all of a sudden, and is now trying to put it on me that they can't buy a new place or move on, even though no one demanded that they leave. And but the person really is set that they won't accept working together under any means, won't accept support or teamwork, or us both contributing. Like, that's what the person has very much decided. Yeah. But the person just sent me today like, yeah, be prepared to take responsibility of all the expenses and everything. And that's I mean, I was already preparing to do that. But when someone is you know, putting that pressure, and there's someone who's making it very clear that they're ready to just like abandon and drop you at any moment, that's when it's like okay. But it's just situational anxiety. It really is. I just gotta calm down, keep my nerves still. That's what this is for, recording these and just I do feel bad that a lot of this feels like yesterday's thing. But it wouldn't have to be if the stressors weren't the same every day, you know. And they aren't exactly the same. They just take on a new shape. It's like a new plot point, you know? A new addition to the overall narrative of the day. And yeah, that's how it's shaping up now. I think what's different about it is the amount of clarity coming from the other person now. You see, before I was living in uncertainty about what the other person was going to do, and all kinds of, you know, wonderings and questionings, and just like, do I need to start worrying about being homeless? Do I need to start looking out for all kinds of, what am I waiting for here? And now it's becoming more clear the person's, you know, ready to just they're ready to make their exit and just go, you know, never knowing the person just like getting ready to not speak to me again, getting ready to just you know, completely exit and just leave us here to our own devices at a certain point. Just like, you know, make their own life, fully disconnect. And that's, you know, I'm not attached to the person anymore, so I don't mind that. Even though in a definitional sense, you know, it is abandoning and all that. I'm not gonna tell myself that it isn't that, but I'm also not gonna get upset over it. If you don't, I'm not gonna do the whole it's not abandonment if I don't accept it as, or you know, the whole thing of like you know, there's that thing of like, I think the closest example is you know, you're not a victim if you don't, as long as you don't think you're a victim, you're not a victim, or something like that. I'm not phrasing it elegantly. I'm just thinking out loud here about it. But there's this thing that some people will suddenly do and say that like, you can be in the middle of something, but as long as you don't think of yourself as a victim, then you're not a victim. Or there's a point where it becomes denial, or it becomes just like coping. It's another thing I wrote notes about on my thoughts about it the other day. I write all kinds of notes about stuff. And let's see. Let me see if I can find it. I feel like I do this every time. I think about a topic that I'm like, I wrote notes on this, and why didn't I just put this in front of me? It's this thing of sort of spiritualizing and trying to turn navigating situations and people into some kind of virtue. Ah, where'd I put my notes? Let's see. It's I wrote down some things here. Just trying to think through my thoughts. Normalizing survival tactics as if they're relationship skills. Mixing up survival behaviors as relationship tools. Reframing harm as a lifestyle choice. I just deal with it. Justifying staying in a painful situation. Ah! I found the note. Okay. Once you align with your. The idea that once you align with your choice, you're no longer a victim. If you accept the harm, it stops being harm. Instead of acknowledging I'm being hurt, I'm not getting what I need, I'm staying away. It's not clarity, it's coping. It's resignation dressed up as wisdom. Trying to normalize something so you don't have to sit with the discomfort or recognizing, what it is. Turning harm into philosophical exercise. There's a little bit of it in all those notes I took, but I'm not gonna say like the whole thing of like it's not abandonment because I was never yours to begin with, I'm not yours to abandon, or something like that. Like relationally, action wise, yes, it is abandoning. It really is. And I don't want to cover that up with pretty words or so that I don't have to deal with it, but in the end there's no intrinsic emotion tied to that word. It means what it means, It is that action and it is what it has occurred. And all I can do is just choose my response to it. And my response to it is, all right. I'll accept it. I accept it. And in fact, I feel a lot healthier because of it. You know what? I am grateful that in a purely definitional, sense, looking at it from the outside, thank you. Thank you for not caring about me anymore in a substantial way, there's still the sort of performative stuff left. There's the obligation, but that's more about that person's own thing rather than actual empathy. Clearly, I mean, the person is trying to offload me as quickly as possible and as thoroughly as possible so that they can just move on completely. So, But I don't mind at all. I'm actually pretty grateful. I am grateful for that. And I feel a lot healthier. It's a relationship sort of like yesterday how I talked about letting go of that fictional story, that fictional world, and taking the best things you learned from it and or the best ideas you came up with and moving forward. I'm ready to this is it's what's happening with my food's done. It's what's happening with this relationship. It's ready to be not archived like that story idea, but let go of and just like the experience of it turned into fertilizer, turned into compost so that something better can grow. And you take the best ideas and the best things and you snip them off that rotten tree and you take the pure fruit and the pure branches and the healthy branches, the new habits, you remove them from the unhealthy source, and then you take those best parts and you graft them onto the new tree that's going to grow. And I'm looking forward to that. But, if I could just find ideally a remote job. Ideally. That I can do. But, and get a car. I'm working towards, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to work towards when I am alone with my pets, with my cats, when I am, and when that time comes, when we're just left here, that it's sustainable, that I got the car, that I got the vehicle. Right now, rushing into what the person is trying to pressure me into is not sustainable. It's immediate. It has like immediate sort of short-term gains, but it's definitely gonna cause issues sustainably and long term. I need to focus right now on making sure things don't fall apart when that time comes, and that I'm able to function, and that I give myself that chance to function when that time comes. But I think that's it for just my worries and just general stressors and interactions. It was interesting seeing all the different personalities at where I work today. Lots of different people. Some were more you could definitely tell they were more entitled like to service, even when when that's not particularly your job. there were all kinds of personalities, and I tried my best to be hospitable, but also set boundaries at work and not do other people's jobs, and making sure that I prioritized what my responsibilities were, and being helpful when I could, but being helpful in a way that still benefit, because the job itself has ways of being helpful that are ultimately still in benefiting the job that you're doing. It's going to help smooth things out for you. I think in most situations, there are ways to benefit you and benefit other people when it comes to a job, But it's definitely different if you're in a healthy relationship. There are those times where you want to go out of your way, where you'll want to go out of your way for the other person, even if there is no specific benefit to you. You don't want to make that your whole life or become, obsessive or self-destructive or self-neglectful, but, doing that kind thing for someone and going out of your way to but it's different at a job, especially one where there's like lots of back and forth. Like, yeah, I had to be up at my post very consistently, take responsibility for what my work was, and ultimately accept that those side things that I could do were not ultimately my responsibility. I would do them of my choice if there was a moment, but I would also have to set it down and just leave it to the other person to take care of the moment I had to go do what I needed to do, which is, a crucial part of the overall whole. This is I'm not saying that, like, my thing is the most important thing. This is a job where everything is important. Everything has its function, and if no one is there, you gotta own what you're doing. You really gotta own what you're doing. You can't enmesh yourself into everybody else's work. You still interdependent, supporting each other, healthy interdependence, supporting each other. There's aspects of relationship in it, but I do acknowledge that you can't, carry all of that into an actual healthy, loving relationship. And in a healthy, loving relationship, you do have time to go out of your way, even if it's not to your benefit, to the benefit of the other person, out of kindness and out of love, It does become an issue when a person kind of structured their life so that what I just described is now obligated from the other person. And that they structure it that way from the beginning, and you don't even know that I'm just repeating myself. I already said this in an earlier one, but in terms of moving on now to, well, I did the events of the day, worries, anxieties, and things like that. And I guess now just talking about other adventures or things like that. Well, I watched a really fun stream before before I started recording this. I had a really fun stream playing in the background. It was submissions to a contest, and the person was going through each submission and then just like talking about it, giving their thoughts on it, getting excited about it, and that was nice to watch in the background. That was, and I took lots of screenshots of different things and things that popped ideas into my head, and I wrote down lots of notes about, like, ooh, okay, that's really interesting. Let me take a key idea from that, or a core concept from this. Ooh, I like the sort of root idea of what this is, or, ooh, I like that idea. I'll make my own version of that later. I like the concept this person was going for. And some of them were amateurish, and some of them were... I don't want to use the word amateur like that, because something amateurish can be pro. Amateur just means you're not getting paid. And that is more of a... Amateur really just technically boils down to you're not getting paid for it, you know? So, there were... What's the word? There were less technically impressive, more crude, more inexperienced, or more, those kinds of things there. But they had really interesting ideas behind them, and really good. And then there were some really, experienced looking, technical ones, or really creative art styles and excellent execution across the board. And it was like, ooh, I'll take some of these ideas here. That's really interesting. I want to use that, or that general kind of shape of that thing. I'll use that later on. And I asked my very close friend if he wanted to watch a particular TV show with me, and he said yeah, so he did. I know I am getting more into trying to find... Hold on, there's a bug here, and I'm going to vacuum this bug. Vacuuming this bug. Here we go. Alright, the bug has been vacuumed. Oh, hold on, my kitten. Hold on, I'm coming. I know the vacuum. Here we go. There you go. Gotta vacuum a little more here as well. Okay, I'll do that in a minute. But, no, come on. You know you're not supposed to be there. Down you go. I better finish this up soon. But I know I had said earlier in another one that I wanted to start finding joy in my own interests and leisure time, and watching shows on my own. And I have been doing that. More. But in addition to that, with my one very good friend, I want to learn more about being able to share something with a positive spin around it, Not being in fear while I'm sharing something with someone. Not being worried or stressed out the whole time, I think it would be good to sort of redeem that downtime and that time spent with interests or relaxing and things more for just uplifting and entertainment, being fulfilled, enrichment. That's what it is. That's the word I was looking for. Enrichment, taking that time, because that's just as important as the time spent making money. It really is. Now, obviously, you still need to go out. Oh, come on, kid. Still need to go out and make money so that you can sustain that, but that doesn't mean it's less important. It's part of keeping your mind and your health and you intact, to then go do the other thing, to support the other thing. They support each other. But I want to redeem both aspects of... I know, you're not supposed to be there. Down you go. Okay. It's to redeem both aspects of that time. I wonder if you get really seriously into something creative. Like there are things that I do, in quotes, for fun. But when I'm working on them, it's not downtime. If that makes sense. Like, I guess for me, downtime is like just sitting down to rest or relax, maybe putting on music in the background or a video to watch, that kind of thing. Oh, I know. I know you don't like being held. I'm going to shut you down here in just a second. Yes, 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 yes. Let me watch over you. But, no, wait, take it. But, for me, downtime is more like that kind of thing. But for me, I don't think playing video games is downtime. It's not like stressful, but for me, like playing video games wouldn't be downtime. That's engaged time. Unless the game itself is just very sort of like hands off mentally, and you're just relaxing during it. But generally, the kind of things I like to play, it's like relaxing in what it is, but it's not downtime. If that makes sense. But I guess that depends on your definition of downtime. Because I don't want to treat any time not working. My goodness, Kench. Don't worry, I'll make sure this works now. There you go. Food drop. There you go. No. This is your bowl. There you go. This is your bowl. Back you go. There you go. There you go. That's your bowl. Okay. But, I don't want to mentally treat time not making money as if it's downtime, as if the only time there's uptime is when I'm working. I don't want to center life around working for money. I want it to be more, or I risk it turning, self-destructive, neglectful. I don't want to center life around that idea that's the peak and everything else is the plain underneath or the valley. It's like, no, they're both important. And they both have their place, and they both support and hold each other up. I guess it also depends on the definition of down. So I guess downtime for me, if I were to be more succinct, is non-engagement time. It's non-engagement time. Just like letting my mind wander, just resting, taking a nap. For me, mentally, that feels less like making it unimportant and more like literally seeing the word down as more of literally being down. Like down on my back, down on the bed, just like hanging out, just chilling or sitting down on a seat, just like putting on something, relaxing in the background, or watching something, but not like analyzing it, just enjoying what's in front of me. So I just gotta, one, how my mind treats the word downtime, and two, how my mind treats the word down in the first place. It's, yeah. As long as I can work through that, I think I can keep myself mentally making sure that I keep that balance in each aspect of life. And I'm looking forward to positive TV watching time, positive show watching, and getting ideas from it as well. I know it's probably going to inspire me a lot. It's probably going to help give me lots of things to ponder on and ideas to think about. Today I was going to talk about so again, something on that list that I was thinking about, Metroid or No Straight Roads. Come on, Karen. Out you go. No Straight Roads or, those other things I mentioned that I wanted to talk about. But I'll think I'll push that to tomorrow because this is long enough. And I'll be off tomorrow, which means that when I do my recap, when I do my journal, when I do my log, writing down ideas and things like that, idea notes and logs and all that, there will be less, being by myself, I'll have more time to think about what I want to say about that stuff, So I think tomorrow and throughout the week that'll be a prime time to just talk about topics like that. But this is gone for a good amount of time. So I'll go ahead and stop here for today. Oh, another thing that happened today, I almost forgot, is that a lady at the place where I went to work today called me ma'am. And certainly not the first time I've heard that in my life. So that was funny. Really quick, more music I was thinking about today helped to cheer me up. Let me think. Yes, it was Green Greens. So I'm going to sing that just to help me feel uplifted again. And another one. I'm not gonna be able to do it, but it's the Tom Jones A Go-Go remix of "This Is My Happiness" from Space Channel 5 Part 2. Dun 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 dun. Come on, you two, behave. Just how you are, cooking a cottage pie. You know I have something to tell you, and I have so many memories here to share. We can dance all through the night. The air of romance rises high. My sweet home, it is the place of love. I hold you close, that's where I belong. That's where I belong, my sweet girl. Your smile is a burn, just kiss me. You're the only one for me. You should know to be with you, girl. This is my happiness. Dun 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 dun. Had a party on the weekend. Da-da-da-dum-bum. Red wine, white wine, whichever you like. I want everyone to come to my place. That's because that's the place where you are with me. Just how you are, sing with the radio. You know I have something to tell you. And we have so many memories in us. Yeah, I'm repeating it now. We can dance all through the night, and air of romance rises high. I really like that song. Specifically that remix of it. It's really good. But yeah, that's it for today.